Okay, someone on stream asked me to do a top 10 list of what I define to be the most fun Warframes. Essentially, the Warframes that I would find the most fun would be the ones that tend to have their own loadout slot that hasn't changed in a very long time. Top 3 Warframes in this particular list are definitely in order, but I feel like the rest of them are just going to be jumbled as each Warframe is more or less equal in terms of how much fun they are. So, without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 10. For number 10, we're going to put in Valkyr Prime. So Valkyr is the super angry melee Warframe who claws everyone's eyes out. She's an uber tank who heals like crazy, does a ton of damage, and has augments that actually make her more interesting to play. The one I particularly like is the Enraged Augment. You're looking at massive borderline overkill damage, but you actually have to play smart, so that's really, really cool. I also like to use Paralysis a lot to set up melee finishes, but sometimes you can use something like Prolonged Paralysis, i.e. the Augment, to set up nukes. I tend to do that by using Prisma Obex and doing a ground finisher. Oftentimes, it's actually very effective. This is going to surprise people, but I actually like using Ripline to travel through the map. Makes me feel like Spider-Man. So that's essentially why I really enjoy using Valkyr Prime. Number 9. For number 9, we're going to put in Harrow. Basically, Harrow has everything you need in a Warframe. We're looking at super high damage, super good healing, a great way to get his energy back, and some nice crowd control. On top of that, he's got invulnerability as well, and he can force orange if not red procs. Like, come on, that's kind of insane. Good lord, this Warframe is the real thinking man's Warframe. You've got plenty of things you need to keep track of when you're using this Warframe, but the value you get from him is absolutely through the roof. To me, Harrow is a contender for the strongest Warframe. 100%. There's a reason why he is considered a 10 out of 10 Warframe when I did the Harrow overview. Number 8. For number 8, we're going to put in Equinox Prime. Equinox has the most kit out of any Warframe with a whopping 7 abilities. Now, they're all ranging from useful to extremely useful. We're looking at burst damage, burst healing, some stagger, shield protection, putting enemies to sleep, putting enemies into a state where they're taking extra damage. We also can support allies as well through damage reduction or giving them extra power strength. What I enjoy the most, though, out of all of this, would have to be the Duality Augment. There's 2 ways of using the Duality Augment. You could potentially use an army of 1 Equinox, which I personally find to be the most enjoyable form of Equinox, i.e. you have 1 Duality Spectre with a shield who draws in fire while you actually shoot everything, or swap those roles around. You can be the tank and the Duality Spectre can be the damage. Or you just have 2 Duality Spectres standing next to each other in like a pseudo firing squad, just shooting everything dead in its tracks. Equinox brings everything to the table so long as you understand how she works. Number 7. For number 7, we're going to be putting in Mirage Prime. Now, Mirage is an extremely nimble Warframe, so using her invokes a sort of flow, if you will, that isn't really matched by any other Warframe. I really like using Hall of Mirrors because it's super cool to use this in tandem with some of my favorite weapons. For example, the Lens or the Kuvabramma, as well as weapons that kind of just flood the map with projectiles like the Supra Vandal. I also prefer to use Eclipse over Roar any day, since Roar is kind of boring to use, it's way too straightforward. But Eclipse is the thinking woman's ability when it comes to buffing yourself and your allies potentially. Definitely provides more value at least, and it also even gives you some incoming damage protection if you happen to be in the right conditions, so that is of course really, really nice. I kind of just wish that the counter at the top was 100% accurate as opposed to just showing the extremes. Sometimes I just want to know precisely how much extra damage I'm doing or how much damage protection I am receiving. Also, the Prism does a ton of damage and it's absolutely insane, but I feel like it really was a sleeper ability until recently. A lot of people don't seem to realize that the Prism actually does a lot of damage to a lot of enemies, even at really, really high level missions. I'm not entirely sure why though, but either way, it's great for clearing out entire rooms really, really quickly. Whilst I see some value from using Sleight of Hand, I don't particularly find it interesting, so it's the ability that I tend to helmet out. But either way, Mirage Prime is a very, very powerful DPS Warframe with a level of mobility that just makes her much more interesting to play compared to other super high DPS Warframes. Number 6. For number 6, we're going to put in Garuda. I feel like a lot of people think Garuda is bad, when in fact she's actually super powerful and can handle everything in the game. We're looking at a Warframe who can force bleed procs, which kinda means armor is completely and utterly meaningless. Now granted, force bleed procs doesn't seem to be as strong these days because shields have changed, but that's okay. She comes with her own set of talents, which I think is a lot better than using something like the Venka Prime. Now granted, those talents are not as strong as the Venka Prime, but I don't really feel like putting a Toxin build on the Venka Prime. I do, however, feel like using a Toxin build on those talents that Garuda comes with, just to deal with any enemies that have shields instead of armor. Garuda also comes with a great heal, but you could probably look at this more as a save Garuda from death kind of ability as opposed to an actual proper heal. Because of that, it's not really a great team heal, but if you want more on that, you should have a look at my Garuda overview where I go into all of this in much more detail. The great thing as well about Garuda is that her first ability allows her to create a shield which can block incoming damage from a certain direction, but you could also use that to create a nuke. And that nuke, when you pair it up with the forced bleed procs, pretty much kills everything with a heartbeat within a matter of seconds, so that is really, really strong. For me though, the best thing about her kit has got to be that she has one of the strongest ways to get energy back instantly. This of course synergizes with her heal in the sense that you basically get rid of some of your health and then regenerate a ton of energy, especially if you're using something like Prime Flow. You can then of course just heal yourself afterwards, so that is a hilarious infinite loop that makes her extremely fun to use. Garuda is one of those Warframes where I just don't even bother helmeting anything out from her, because she basically has a perfect kit. There's no need to touch her, and that's what makes her really, really good. Number 5. For number 5, we're going to put in Wisp. Because sometimes I just want to summon a great big beam of death, and that's exactly what Wisp brings to the table. Sorry, that's the wrong video. There we go. I love using Soul Beam. Sure, it might not be as strong as using a weapon, but I literally don't care. I just want to burn everything to the ground with the power of the sun. This synergizes with motes as well, so I literally don't even have to worry about armor. It's so good. The motes themselves are also very helpful when it comes to keeping Wisp alive. It also makes them move a little bit faster, which is absolutely fantastic. Ironically enough though, I'm not really a fan of that electric mote, as it often prevents enemies from attacking Wisp and therefore giving her energy via something like Rage and Hunter Adrenaline. Keep in mind that Wisp is also the original Fireworks Warframe, so you're able to do a ton of damage through the use of something like Breach Surge. That is of course really, really good. Ultimately, Wisp's kit has a bunch of synergies that make her a much more of a thinking ladies Warframe compared to others in the game. Number 4. For number 4, we're going to put in Wukong Prime. Not only is Wukong probably the most useful Warframe for one member of the crew to bring to a Railjack mission, he's actually pretty fun to use in normal missions as well. Oh wait, hang on, this is the wrong game. This is even Warframe. Can we get the right footage back, please? Alright, let's continue. So Wukong is an ultra tank with ludicrous healing, ridiculous levels of armor, and the ability to redirect damage as well. I mean, come on. This guy's nuts! He also brings along a permanent friend, so it's kind of the same logic as using Equinox's duality, only better. That being said though, you can't use two gunners, so that's a little bit sad, but it's okay. Wukong is pretty easy to play because he's so insanely powerful. His exalted weapon is really strong as well, so as a result I really like to use him quite a lot. Number 3. For number 3, we're going to put in Titania Prime. She is far and easily the fastest Warframe in the game, hands down. She's definitely faster than Omega Lol Volt or Goss. Easily. There is no contest. Dex Pixia is absolutely ludicrous, especially if you're using something like Razorwing Blitz. At that point, you pretty much have 2 pairs of miniguns, so that makes her really, really strong. That and status being king in Steel Path missions pretty much means that Titania shreds differently. She is super duper strong in pretty much every mission that exists in the game. She can also get her energy back through the power of Spellbound Harvest, which of course is an augment for her first ability. And as well as that, the Lantern now shuts down everyone within range, and it doesn't move away. So using her is even easier than ever, and she is even more powerful than ever before. I absolutely love using Titania, and provided there's no Volt on the team, I have no problem dealing with the absolute incredible speed that she can come with. Number 2. For number 2, we're going to put in Ivara Prime. Look, I have an archery fetish, and Ivara is the archery warframe. That's it. Enough said. That's literally it. Quiver is a great way to give Ivara a bunch of useful utility options. Although, granted, the noise arrow is a little bit scuffed, but still. 3 out of 4 arrows in the quiver are still very, very useful. Prow is probably the strongest invisibility in the game, and Artemis Bow is the ultimate spray bow. Now, granted, you could use something like Concentrated Arrow as well if you so desire. It is in fact very, very strong. I do, however, replace Navigator via the helmet since I don't really bother with that noise. So at that point, Ivara just becomes an incredibly efficient warframe because the energy drain from Prow is generally quite minimal in most circumstances. It's only when you get hit by something like an electric trap, that's when you start to lose all your energy through the use of Prow. But the Artemis Bow doesn't really drain away that energy all that much. Now granted, if you happen to not have particularly a high efficiency, then the Artemis Bow will yeet some of your energy every shot. But still, I think it's absolutely perfectly fine. To me, Ivara is such a hilariously powerful warframe that I even bring her to Eidolon hunts, since I'd much rather use the Artemis Bow than a goddamn sniper rifle. That's the deal. That is how great Ivara is at the present moment. Number 1.
Y me llama el cocinero. Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Miren, bañador. En las chanclas. Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme las chanclas y el bañador. Voy a la playa, había subido la marea. Eso. Tú, había subido la mano y encontré una paella. Y la encontré porque estaba la paellera agarrada metida entre las piedras de Chipiona, del faro. Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera y adentro la 20 paellera. ¡Asómate! ¡Mira dónde llega el agua! ¡Llegaba el agua hasta el restaurante! ¡Había subido la marea! ¡Jesús! ¡Hay que hacer ahora! ¡Con los 2 sacos de arroz! ¡Ay! ¡Llama para Sevilla! ¡Llama a Sevilla que traigo paella!
Number 1. For number 1, we're going to put in Mag Prime. Now, Mag, being a starter frame, is capable of doing pretty much everything in the game. We're looking at a warframe who can strip armor and destroy everything and... Wait, sorry, can we bring in the correct footage, please? There we go. Alright, let's continue. Sorry, where were we? That's right, Mag is able to control enemies and relocate them. We're also able to bring enemies together and massively increase the damage that you do to them. We're also able to produce shards that have all sorts of mechanics involved with the Magpie's bubble. We're also able to create overshields. Mag is another thinking lady's warframe. There's a lot that goes into playing her, but the value I get from her is orders of magnitude higher than pretty much every other warframe in the game. That being said though, I do replace Paul with the helmet ability, mainly to keep her energy up. All of Mag's abilities improve the experience of using a projectile weapon, such as a bow. Stripping armor makes these typically high crit weapons stand a much better chance of doing a ton of damage. Jamming enemy weapons tends to cause enemies to stand still. Magnetize is magnetize, so even arrows turn the bubble into a meat grinder. Although if you want a real meat grinder, you probably want to use the Exergus. There's a reason why Mag Prime is my most played Warframe by a significant margin, because Mag is simply the best. So that pretty much makes my top 10 list. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. What are your favorite Warframes to use? And more importantly, why are they your favorite Warframes? Is it just as simple as big damage number good? Or is there actually something more to them that makes you enjoy them a lot more than other Warframes? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoy this. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Warframe content. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.